Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am Sam, I'm an artist, illustrator and an aspiring knitting designer coming to you from Dublin in Ireland. This is another knitting podcast episode, a podcast about my knitting adventures, sometimes a little bit of my artistic life, books I'm reading, anything literally that happens in my crafting and artistic life, basically everything outside the 9 to 5 type of office work that I'm still doing. Anyway, this is gonna be a July update, won't be too long of an update. I have been knitting a lot, but at the same time thinking about the knitting, I don't quite think I'm going to spend too much word on them. I feel like I'm just in a bit of a funk in terms of setting or sitting in front of a camera and talking about that. Actually, I realize that the camera is very far away as well. We'll get to that in a second, but without any further ado, as they say, let's jump in with the first and no, it's not the only, but it's the first finished object, which is this delightful jumper. This pattern has been a massive surprise. I really loved it. It fits extraordinarily well. I'm going to put it on in a second. And yeah, it's just a overall delight. So this is the Scold sweater by Yarbo. Actually, let me put it on so we can just talk about it with the jumper on. Here we go. And as you can see, it's an absolute delight. I mean, I shouldn't say that myself, but I'm really astonished. It hasn't happened in a long time that a jumper actually fits so well straight away. I was saying this is the Scold sweater by Yarbo, a pattern that I got to, let me get the camera closer, a pattern that I got to know about from Kia's Board podcast. I know I'm mentioning Kia all the time on this podcast, but she's such a wonderful and inspiring knitter that how can I not mention her? Anyway, she knitted a couple of these jumpers for, I think, her husband or her son-in-law or something, and they were absolutely gorgeous. Fit the guys really well in the picture that she shared, and I really wanted one. As you can see, it's a colorwork pattern. We have a colorwork all around the jumper. On the cuff side, the sleeves, the body, the yoke, and yeah, everything. So it's a bit of a challenging knit, but at the same time is not. First of all, because the colorwork is very repetitive and extremely simple. There are very short floats, so you don't really have to catch your floats basically at all, I think. Yeah, and yeah, it's just flowing on and on. It doesn't require any thought at all. The pattern, I don't know if I mentioned already, it's a free pattern on the Yarbo website, and it's extraordinarily well done. It's in English, first of all, which is a plus for Nordic patterns. It's absolutely gorgeously written. You can just follow it, extremely clear, not an issue in the word there. And I think the construction as well is quite clever. Generally, when I knitted before jumpers, we have a setup row on the yoke side when you start knitting the yoke, and usually the row starts from here, from the shoulder, either on one side or the other. This pattern yoke starts from the very back, the middle of the back. I don't know if I can show you here. You probably can't tell because it matches completely well. There are a couple of tricks in the pattern that tells you how to match the color work, and it's gorgeous. I knitted for myself the second size. I know that Kia was saying that is a bit on the larger side as jumper goes. So I thought the first size was really too thin, too small for me, considering my gauge. The second size, as well, considering the gauge and the measurement given by the pattern, kind of figure a bit too small, but it turned out to be very good. It's really fitted. There's no positive ease at all. There's probably a bit of negative ease, as you can see on the shoulder and on the underarm here, but it's exactly the wearability that I like, the fit that I like. What else? It's a bottom-up jumper, so you start from the bottom, you knit up until the shoulder, cast off a number of stitches for the underarms, knit the two sleeves, attach the sleeve, collar work, and neckband. On the back there are short rows already included in the pattern, so you don't even have to think about those. What else? The only modification that I made for this jumper is the cuffs. As you can see, I made tubular ribbing cuffs everywhere in my waistband, cuffs and neck, because the pattern tells you to make like a sort of color work rolling edge that I really don't like. If you want to know more about why I don't like that, just jump on my previous video and I tell you all. Now I'm looking at myself on the camera and I realize that this needs probably a bit of an irony, yarn wise. Well, because we have at least 1, 2, 3, 4 colors involved in this jumper, I really used scrap yarn that I got around the house. It's all DK yarn for the contrasting color. The main color instead is Sardine Perfect, which is a DK sock yarn. 75 wool, 25 polyamide, with a process to make it superwash. So eventually, if I wanted, I could wash this in the machine as well. If you are a long time viewer of this channel, you know that I destroyed so many jumpers using superwash yarn. They became massive, they slouched their life out, or I put them in the washing machine and the yarn basically got destroyed. So I'm not the most fond person when it comes to superwash yarn. But I found that the Sardine Perfect, having that tiny bit of polyamide content in it, makes the superwash situation just to work at your benefit. I'm not sponsored by Sardine, Jesus, I wish I was, but I really like this yarn. It gets all the quality of the superwash, so it's extremely soft. It's like a merino wool. You can't feel any itch. Considering today is what, 25 degrees Celsius here in Ireland is our heat wave in brackets. It's very warm, so the wool technically should itch a lot, but this yarn doesn't even itch. It feels like cotton, maintaining like the wooliness, the warmth of the wool. You can wash it in the washing machine, has a bit of polyamide, so the fibers stick together, they don't really relax too much, so I can avoid that type of disaster when washing my jumpers. and it is cheaper than any other of Sadness Garn's yarn. So I'm really pleased with this. As a measure of security as well as an insurance policy, this is all colourwork. So even, I suppose, if I have used some other superwash yarn that doesn't have any polyamide, any nylon in it, I'm sure the floats behind it, the fibers, will still remain together very well. So, you know, it's a give and take. But I was buying Sadness Garn yarn, and as you know, I unfortunately have to buy them online, abroad, because we really don't have any Sadness retailer here in Ireland. So I was like, yeah, well, I'm going to buy a half of a jumper quantity of this gorgeous yarn, and here we go. I'm extremely pleased with the result. The contrasting color are just a combination of woolly knits, Ost garns, and I think we have a bit of drops charisma as well, the green that you can see. It's just a mess of what I could find around the house. You really don't need a lot of yarn for the contrasting color. I used about 8 balls of the main color, and I would say altogether 50 grams of the contrasting color, considering the different changes, the 4 changes. That's it. This is my Scold sweater by Yarbo. I warmly recommend the Yarbo's patterns, even if they are in Swedish or in Norwegian or in another language. Just translate them. They are so gorgeous and they're beautiful. If you want to know how to translate them, I think Google now has AI capability. I know we are very scared about AI, artificial intelligence, but I think when we can use it at our advantage is actually really good. The thing that I've done previously with other patterns, rather than copy and pasting the pattern into Google Translate, is copying and pasting the pattern into a Google document. And with the AI solution there, they gave me a perfect translation in English with all the terminology. So I think is a step further from the simple translation. Anyway, I would like to give you more information if you need to. I find this type of technology really simple and really helpful for us knitter just to get access to more patterns. Let me take the jumper off because I'm absolutely boiling, and we'll go on with the rest of the podcast. I haven't even washed my face probably. It's like very early in the morning and it's already quite warm here in Ireland. Although being originally from Italy, like 25 degrees is basically early spring. But you know, I got accustomed to the Irish weather after these many years. Let's go on with the finish works. Here we go. This is the latest of the family. Do you want me to unpin one for you? Let's see if I can. They are blocking now, but I think at least one is almost dry. Look at this. Isn't this adorable? I have no idea how I can show you this thing, but this is a fish, a sardine, and I am absolutely obsessed with the sardines. I don't know why, to be honest, but these are the cutest thing that came out of my needles recently. So the idea was that because we have a bit of summer in Ireland, and because I'm not due for any summer holidays until like late September, I kind of wanted to decorate a bit my house with some, I don't know, summer theme, seaside theme decorations. I'm not a seaside or a sea person at all, but I don't know, I had the feeling. So I was looking online if I could find a pattern for some buntings to put on the windows, like those kind of stripy thing that you can find, I don't know, in fisherman villages, and I don't know if I'm saying something stupid, but we have them here in Dublin, on the seaside part of Dublin. Like there's a town called Oath or Dunleary, Bray. They do have this type of seaside themed decorations around the city. And I kind of wanted to make a few to put up on the windows and so on and so forth. I looked online for something like that. Couldn't really find much, and I found that it was easier probably to take the needles up and knit this thing. Well, the idea is to have a lot of those with strings and hang them on the windows, and at different heights. I think they will look quite nice and interesting. I know that I'm not selling this pattern at all, but let me tell you about the pattern. So how I thought about this is basically based on the same structure that I used for my pride pin heart or the shamrock thing, or again, what did I do? My Christmas balls somehow have the same construction. So basically is casting on a number of stitches using the Turkish cast on, so that cast on that allows you to cast two sides of a tube of knitting together, so it's seamless and goes up in a tube. You use this for, I don't know, toe up socks, for example. Cast on like that, and then with increases and decreases at certain point, you get basically a tubular shape of a fish or a sardine. And then I like to stitch a bit of a dead eye in front of the sardine as well, just because, you know, they are sardines. But you can as well use, I don't know, a button to make the eye and something like that. This is a pattern that I'm currently finishing up. So the plan is between the time I'm recording this and the time that this video goes up to get a couple of testers, check the pattern as thoroughly as I can. I'm not going to bother with tech editing, it's gonna be too expensive, and probably nobody will want this pattern at all, so there's no money to be made there. So the idea is checking as thoroughly as I can the pattern, get a couple of friends to knit the sardine. These take about 20 minutes altogether, so it's a very easy thing, and publish for you the pattern on Ravelry. So hopefully by the time you see this video, the pattern will be up and running. The interesting thing, I think, apart from the odd construction, is that I put a couple of suggestions in terms of measurements. Like these ones are made using sock yarn with a 2.5mm needles, and they are about, what, 10 centimeters. You can use wider needles, larger yarns, DK for example, and you make a larger fish. So I put a couple of numbers there. Now, the measurements that I put are 100% made up on a piece of paper, taking into account gauge, needles, yarn, and so on. I haven't got to measure them actually in practice, because the 3 fish I knitted were only using DK, so I'm sure about that. Not sure about the decay yarn, not sure about larger or thinner yarns or needle combination. I will ask my friends to double check with me and kind of use different yarns to make theirs, so at the end we can get a comprehensive pattern. You will be able to find a pattern, hopefully on Ravelry, when you see this video. But they are absolutely adorable and I can't stop making them. I made 3, one of these like early this morning while I was having my breakfast. It's just obsessive. In terms of patterns, here we go. You've seen this on my last podcast. I won't talk a lot about these socks. These are heel tab socks, all sport socks. I just published the pattern after, I would say, 25 people asked me if I could type up the pattern. The pattern is in my Ravelry shop, or link below here. They are called sport socks. As you can see, I was getting a bit of a lack of what you call it, inspiration for the name, but it's quite what they are. I use them in running shoes and stuff like that. They are extremely comfortable because you have the heel tab, so even if you're running, you're not scorching your heels. And I think the construction is quite interesting as well. I'm not going to talk more about this. If you want to hear all the description about these socks, go on the previous podcast. If I'm able to, I will put the link here as well. The June update will walk you through everything these socks are about. But to give you just a brief explanation, heel tab, it's the start. So you custom for the heel tab. You need a heel tab which is kind of rolled in, so it's a double padded. Then the heel is a German short row heel, easy peasy. The body of the foot, the instep is called. I used to make a ribbing for the instep just to keep everything tight. I don't give that option in the pattern, but you can really add any pattern that you want in terms of stitch type there. It's quite easy. It's usual custom numbers, so you don't get anything wrong with that, and regular decreasing SSK knit together toe here. So another thing that is happening there, 2 patterns in 2 weeks. I haven't published a pattern, I say, in a year, probably more. And I got just this massive inspiration that came to me all of a sudden. But yeah, let's go on with the knitting. We have one work in progress that I would like to share with you. And after that, just a bit of a life update. Nothing too much. I'll tell you the book that I finished, which is an absolute disaster. And what else? And that's basically it. I told you it was a very short episode. So, we have a work in progress, which is actually quite working in progress because we already have a yoke here. And as you can see, it's a cable jumper. I have spoken about this jumper many months ago, but let me tell you about the pattern first. I'm not going to heavily edit this video, I hope, so I'm gonna show you the picture here. This is the Sibylla sweater or jumper by Cookie the Knitter. I have the printed pattern because I'm old like that and I like my patterns printed, just because I can just note stuff down and so on and so forth. So I've knitted before from the same designer the Sirena sweater, which is 100% the same thing, I have to say. The only thing that changes is the front, let's say the cable situation. But the construction, stitch number, everything else is exactly the same. I bought the pattern, this Sibylla pattern, right after I knitted the first one, just because the first one is absolutely unbelievable, fits so well and was quite easy to knit as well. So I really loved it. And I was like, well, every now and then I have this cable knitting craving, so why not getting another similar, not much exciting, but it's another different type of cable knitting. And here we go, we got the cable knitting. This is a pattern that is worked from the top down. You cast on for the back of your neck, knit the shoulders, and then pick up stitches on the edge of your shoulder and then knit down. Now, this is one first modification that I made. The pattern tells you to pick up stitches seamlessly between the back yoke and the shoulder. This actually shows you, this t-shirt shows you exactly the construction of this thing, but I like to have the line here. So instead of picking up seamlessly, I left, I don't know if you can tell, one line of knit stitches to delineate the shoulders, exactly like this does. I feel like, although this is extremely minimal, it's a way to convert a pattern that is designed for a female body to a male body, because you want your shoulder to be accentuated a little bit at least. Rather than in a female type of construction, you probably prefer the shoulders to be less conspicuous. Giving the line of underlight for your shoulder makes your shoulder look a little broader, and I think everything works well in the end. This pattern, as you can see, is knitted, maybe unisex, but is knitted for a more loose version of a jumper, more like feminine type of body. So I'm going to do some modification. One is actually the shoulder line here of picking up. The second one is on the sleeves, and I have already made a modification. You have the sleeve opening, and for my size, I'm following the second size up. The pattern tells you just to knit the front and the back of the jumper without any new cast on, but I casted on 8 new stitches down here, so to make the top of the body chest size a bit larger. And then I plan to remove and decrease those 8 cast on going down towards the waist. So instead of keeping the jumper straight, the jumper will slant just that tiny little bit that will create the kind of funnel shape. I am not fit by any sort of imagination, but I like at least my garments to give the suspicions that under the jumper there is a body. Anyway, the same thing will happen to the sleeves. From larger sleeves with those 8 new cast-on stitches, tapering down towards the cuff and getting the cuff quite fitted. That's basically it for the pattern. Yarn that I'm using, Sandnes Garn Peer Gynt, number 6364. It's this lovely navy blue, nothing there. And I'm using a combination of 375 and I'm gonna probably use a 3 for the cuffs needles. That was it for the knitting, and I'm so thirsty, but let's plow on. So What are the life updates that I wanted to talk to you about? Well, we have a big update here. I have finally started a podcast. Well, this is a podcast. But if you have been following me for a while, you know that the first part of the year from, let's say, December last year until, what was it, mid-June this year, I've been studying or restudying Latin language, translations, grammar, all of that, like properly. 3 or 4 hours every day in the evening, sitting down and study, translate, take lessons, all of that. I have studied Latin back in school, in high school, and throughout the university some Latin came in. So it was always part of my life, but I lost it completely, because between having studied Latin and nowadays I have learned a new language, English, that became part of my everyday life. I had so many other things that took my time away from that, so I lost it almost completely. I could remember just the main, the declinations, for example. So it was a very good exercise, as well as getting a skill back. On that note, I had always on the back of my mind the fact that I wanted to restudy again or get a bit deeper into Roman law. I think I have the book somewhere here. I wanted to show you, but I'm too lazy to get up, stop the camera, get the books, show you the books, put the books back. So imagine. Anyway, I have studied Roman law in school as part of the Italian curriculum for law school, and it was quite of an intensive set of exams, and I thoroughly enjoyed every second of that. It was probably my favorite subject in school. And I had in the back of my mind always the idea of doing something with that Roman law that I'm doing nothing with, literally nothing, because it's just background culture that you're never gonna use. So I started a podcast. How it works is going to be, or it is, a only audio podcast. You can find it on any podcasting platform, I believe. Spotify, what's that as well? Acast, Google, Apple Podcast. I don't know. I'm using an automation that share my podcast around the website, so you may be able to find it. But Spotify will be a good place to start with. I probably will upload this here as soon as I figure out a way to link the voice to some sort of video that is not me speaking to a camera. I can't bear recording another podcast like this. I cannot. Anyway, audio podcast, and every time I talk about a topic of the Roman law. I'm not going to follow, a book, for example, or to give lessons of Roman law, but I take a snippet of Roman law here and there, basing everything on fonts and the resources that I can find. In my bookshelves around here, I have plenty of Latin books, ancient Roman law collection and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm pretty well catered for this research part of the podcast. It's not about the podcast itself, it's about the time I can spend reading and researching around this. For example, the first episode that is now out, It's about the law in Rome that wasn't written down. All the what were called the mos maiorum, the customs of the forefathers, that were the basis of Roman law, the living law. Now, the second episodes that I'm preparing now will be around the written law. So, how the people got to have power, like general population, people, citizens, not just the patricians and riches, but just the people had got to have power by having the law written down. So detaching from interpretation, for example. And third one, I think will be around actually people. So who were they, and what was like a regular Roman family? What was the role of the father or the pater familias? What role was the role of the woman, and what rights did the woman had, and as well the child in a family. But I remember as well having a lot of interest in the rights of the unborn person. So someone that was conceived, wasn't born yet, in Rome had some set of rights and laws that regulated its life as well, even before being born. So all of this is the plan. It's long, it's intricate, but it's extremely satisfying. I don't even know if I'm any good at that. My voice don't really make much sense on a mic, but yeah, here we go. It's called Lex Podcast, Lex, which means law, symbol in Latin. Anyway, that was it for the life update. Very last thing, I finished Ulysses, talking about books now. I finished Ulysses from James Joyce. Absolute nightmare. I was about to say a bad word, but YouTube will sanction me for that. So you can imagine, an absolute nightmare. I know that everybody told me, oh, it's gonna be amazing, it's gonna be a great adventure, it's my most favorite book ever. No, it was a pain from first page to the very last. And I don't think that is because my English is not good or because I'm not a native speaker. I think it's that James Joyce wanted to make your life miserable. And I'm not even joking here. I couldn't put together two sentences, well, let alone two sentences, two words together, could not put them together, make sense, nothing. It was just a reading word by word and going on with sheer force. I even tried to get myself one of those guides, but took the life out of me. So I finished it. I'm happy that is done, but I wasted about a month of my life on that book, which I'm never gonna get back. So the plan for the next while will be just reading very easy books. I think I'm gonna get all the Ken Follett's books and read them all. They are like a breath of fresh air. So if you want to start reading Ulysses, if you listen to me, do not. Unless you are a literally student or you want really to damage yourself or to waste a month of time of your life. Anyway, this will be very unpopular opinion, but it's just too difficult. It is really too difficult. I was talking about this with my boss in work, and he said something that made me think. My boss is quite an old chap, and it's very wise, I think. And he told me, like, why would you waste time in reading something that is meant not to be understood? And I was like, yeah, well, you're actually right. It's just, life is too short to read that. So anyway, that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this podcast. Please, if you have any interest in Roman law, check out my new podcast on Spotify and on all the other audio platforms. Lex podcast, all the links are gonna be below. As well, there is a Patreon page that I just opened. You can, if you wish, support my channels now through Coffee. The links are below as well. And if you want to check out my artworks, irishfarmart.com is the website. I will talk to you very soon. I'm gonna go out and enjoy that 10 minutes of sun that we're gonna have in Ireland today. Bye for now.